massive turnout, massive number of signatures calling on universities to reduce tuition fees. Will politicians listen?
Well, I mean, it's a job of a petitions committee. I think there's about 8 or 9 members of Parliament on the petitions committee, and those petitions come to that committee, and then as a committee we schedule those petitions for debate, and we take it in turns to lead each one. I've probably led about 6 or 7 since I've been in the committee. I don't always agree with what the petition's calling for. Sometimes I have, sometimes I haven't. Today, probably I'm sort of sympathetic in some respects, but not in others. I really do feel for the experience that many young people have had at university over the last 20 months or so. Many of them have been denied a normal university experience, and we know that actually going to university is about more than just the academic side. It's about the society, it's the social side. And for most of the time that a lot of university students have been at university in the last 20 months, this has been denied to them. Plus also, you've got in addition to that, some of the lecturers, I don't think, engaging enough with real-time in-person learning, and I think there's some questions to answer there. So I think there's 2 separate issues here. There's like potential partial refund for universities who've been impacted by COVID, but in terms of this broader issue, I've got more mixed feelings on that.
Now, the government have already indicated that they're not considering a reduction in maximum fee levels. Because you're a member of the Petitions Committee, you obviously believe in the process. I think it's something to be celebrated, but it does beg one to ask, what's the point in these debates if the government, before it's even started, say, well, we're not going to listen? Well,
we live in a representative democracy, we don't live in a direct democracy, so I think it's good to have the system in place. The issue will be thoroughly debated today, and there'll be members of Parliament from different political parties. But I think there's a legitimate question here, though, which is that I think that there are too many people going to university, in my view, and I think many young people just go to university because other alternatives aren't clearly signposted, like apprenticeships, technical skills. So a lot of them end up sort of meandering into university, perhaps under pressure from their parents, from their schools, without really thinking about it clearly. So for them, 3 years potentially doing a course that doesn't give them the skills they need to have a good career. I mean, in that respect, it's not that surprising that so many of them aren't paying back the university debt. And, of course, that's a taxpayer who has to pick that up.
You say you think too many people are going to university, but in seats where the Conservatives did so well in 2019, seats like the one that I represented in Nottinghamshire, Ashfield, now also Conservative seats, but those red wall seats, they are often found languishing at the bottom of the university participation rate table. I mean, surely you recognise that maybe there are too many people in some areas going to university, but in other areas, working class communities, they're not sending enough.
The key for levelling up is skills. The key for levelling up is putting in place an education system that gives people in those areas the skills they need to take advantage of opportunities in their area. And I think about my own area, there's lots of skills opportunities in the area, but often there isn't people with the skills to take those jobs. So we have people from outside the area taking those jobs. So for me, the key is technical education and apprenticeships. I don't think trying to pressure people to go to university, accrue a huge amount of debt, and then often come out of it with a qualification that may well not be relevant to a jobs market. And also, why should the taxpayer be subsidising that education? I don't think everybody has a sort of God-given right to go to university for 3 years and perhaps really not do a huge amount of work.
But wouldn't you say that it could be one of the metrics for levelling up, to get those areas which have the fewest number of 18-year-olds going to university? Wouldn't you like to see more of those? Because it's very unequal at the moment. If you're in Surrey, you're almost, not almost guaranteed, but there's going to be a majority of you going to university in those red wall seats.
If you said to me, sometimes, of course, university can be a really good thing for people, so I'm not dismissing it. Like, it can be transformative for people, and I think if somebody wants to go there and they're that way-minded, we should encourage them to do that. But I do feel like we haven't focused enough on the other 50% who don't go to university, and I don't think, and sometimes some of the 50% who have perhaps should have thought about whether that was the right thing to do. I'd probably rather, it could well be the case that somebody locally in my constituency, right, looking at Freeport down the road, 10,000 new manufacturing jobs, you've got BT Martlesham Tech Centre just outside Ipswich, might be much better for them to actually do a skills qualification linked to those job opportunities than go to a university outside of the area that may not have a great reputation, spend 3 years getting a huge amount of debt, and then coming out of it with a qualification that may well not enable them to get the kind of job they hope for. And maybe that degree isn't the golden ticket they promised it would be.
Finally, it's reported that the government is planning to cut the earnings threshold at which graduates begin repaying student loans. Currently, graduates start to pay back student loans when their salary hits $27,000, just over. Ministers are looking to reduce that figure, it's reported, You got an inside track on that?
The key point is it's been reported. And there's lots of things that are reported that don't turn.
Is it a good idea?
I saw that David Willits had put something out along this. He, of course, was the architect for 9,000. It's driven by the sense that they think that the taxpayer is picking up a big share of the burden at the moment. I think that's something the government have to look into. But, I mean, ultimately, I think we need to streamline and think very clearly about who's going to university. And if a taxpayer is going to be subsidising it, I think it's right the government and the taxpayer ask the question, is this good for UK PLC?
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.